Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and we're at the Zone Show, and you're watching True School Sports.
I'll astound your eyes when I get down to the nitty. This thing's moving damn slow. Chill for an hour, then grease them all and still walk through the corridors with my hands on my bills. I still pass crews that amuse me not. Can't distinguish the English when they freestyle and jock. Try to pass by, you stare me down cold. You try to find my soul, save your rhymes for the mind. Nigga, I'll break it down for your headpiece and give peace signs. And ride the shepherdese, carry on. Never do crime to all mankind. Make a line, feel the pain. I'm running out of time. The lies will get done. I never had a gun. I even you with trauma when you night bring the drama. Carry on, never do crime to all mankind. Make a line, feel the pain. I'm running out of time. The lies will get done. I never had a gun. I even you with trauma when you night bring the drama.
The message to the weightlifter, Big Anthony Joshua, the big tough man who told me to get fit. Fat fuck. It's a new one because he usually doesn't swear. He tries to not be himself. So he's being himself now, which is good. To be honest with you, my old mate, I don't need to get fit for somebody like you at all. I could come to you and I'll punch all your face right in for you, even at 25 stone. So I really don't need to get fit for you. Anyway, put it that way. Seen what you're about. You just fought a midget the other day in a hard fight. The referee had to stop it in case you got caught or beat. You know, Bum City, like I always said. Useless. No gas, no stamina, too many weights. You want to practice on a bit more speed and less power. Bum.
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, recently on Facebook, I posted a status about an opinion and a conclusion that I've come to myself recently. You know, and we'll get into that here in a second, but recently, and I want to give this guy a big shout out because he brought this to my attention. We had a great conversation about boxing the other day, and that's my main man Johnny Cortillo out there in Vegas. So shout out to my boy Johnny in Vegas. We always have great conversations about boxing. And Johnny, I guess he had watched my recent video on Canelo Alvarez and Floyd Mayweather, and he didn't agree with what I said, which is fine. But he brought up an interesting point that I never thought about this from this vantage point. And he kind of really opened my mind up to some things in boxing, which is the fact that, you know, the pinnacle, if we're talking about the last 20 years of boxing, the last 20 to 25 years of boxing, the pinnacle of big-time boxing, not just in America, but in the entire world, the pinnacle of big-time boxing is to headline a fight in the MGM Grand. There is not much bigger you can get in boxing anywhere in the world than headlining a big-time fight at the MGM Grand. You see what I'm saying? So we talked about that, and he basically used, he was telling me how he doesn't believe Anthony Joshua is the biggest star in boxing because Anthony Joshua has never fought in or headlined at the MGM Grand. So I basically thought about this and I mulled it over for a little bit. And I didn't just mull it over. I went back and I looked at the history of boxing, like as to what fights have taken place at the MGM Grand, and I mean, like, the list is unparalleled. And I'm gonna have a video about that very soon. But fighting in the MGM Grand headlining in the MGM Grand is very tough. It's a massive stage, and it takes special fighters to handle headlining a fight and fighting to that best of their abilities at the MGM Grand. That's why I think the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder rematch, the performance from Fury, is so special. You see what I'm saying? So I basically went on Facebook and I stated that because Anthony Joshua has yet to exercise his demons of fighting in America, okay, he hasn't exercised the demons of fighting in Madison Square Garden, and he hasn't ever boxed in the MGM Grand. So I have serious questions in my mind. I think they're valid. I think they're valid questions to ask, and I think they're valid doubts to have, that Anthony Joshua can't handle big time boxing in America. So then what wound up happening was all the Brits, all the British boxing fans, all the Brits that I have friends with on Facebook, they all jumped on my status and then they all said, "Oh, what are you talking about? AJ's boxing in front of 90,000 people at Wembley Stadium. He fought Klitschko in the 21st fight. You're just hating. You're coming up with these crazy narratives because you hate AJ." One guy was like, "Oh, you used to be one of AJ's biggest fans. Now you're his biggest critic." And I'm like, first of all, I'm still an AJ fan. But I think these are valid questions to ask. The dude has not yet proven he can handle big-time boxing in America. And then to all the Brits out there, and this is directed, and I love the Brits, but this is directed squarely at you guys, okay? To all the Brits out there that have never been to America or just don't quite understand what the hell it means to headline at the MGM Grand, okay? Well, let's get into what it means to headline at the MGM Grand. When we look at the history of the MGM Grand, we're talking about an arena that has played host to 7 of the top 10 highest grossing pay-per-views of all time. When we talk about the MGM Grand, we're talking about a place that in the last 20 years has had 3 Fight of the Year since 1996, 2 Round of the Year since 1996, 4 Knockouts of the Year since 1996. We're talking about this venue, this historical venue of boxing, playing host to trilogies, to 3 of the 4 Pacquiao Marquez fights, to Pacquiao Morales 1, to Morales Barrera 2 and 3, to Tyson Holyfield 1 and 2. Big time boxing lives in the MGM Grand. So you get all these Brits, you get all these British boxing fans, these AJ defenders, these AJ lovers. And I like Anthony Joshua too, but it's getting ridiculous. You get all these Anthony Joshua defenders who want to throw salt on American boxing. And you know what? I understand there's problems in American boxing. I understand there's lots of corruption in American boxing. I'm not going to throw that to the wayside. There's tons of things that are wrong with American boxing. But you're not going to disrespect the prestige and what it means to fight in the MGM Grand. Hell no. And in no way, shape, or form are you going to put fighting in the MGM Grand and headlining in the MGM Grand at the same level as Wembley Stadium or the O2 Arena. It's not even close. It's much more tougher to fight in the MGM Grand than either one of those places. And I'm gonna explain to you why, okay? And I'm parroting what my boy Johnny said, and I really thought this over, and it makes a lot of sense. And you can apply this to Madison Square Garden as well, but I'm really applying it more to the MGM Grand because 7 of the top 10 highest grossing pay-per-views of all time. Big time. That's big time boxing, right? That is an undisputed fact. And if you want to hold on, before we get into it, if you want to know what those pay-per-views are, 6 of them are Mayweather pay-per-views. But listen, you got Mayweather Mosley, Mayweather Cotto, Tyson Holyfield 2, Mayweather De La Hoya, Mayweather Canelo, Mayweather McGregor, and Mayweather Pacquiao. Big fights, big time blockbuster fights. So with that being said, and with that being clearly established here on True School Sports, I'm gonna explain to you why it would be tougher for somebody like Anthony Joshua to fight somewhere like the MGM Grand headliner and be successful. Okay, reason number 1: when you fight at Wembley Stadium, okay, there's 90,000 people there. It's extremely loud and people are singing. But in the MGM Grand, the way the seating is structured, the fans are a lot more on top of you. So they're a lot more on top of you, which means that they're yelling when they're yelling at you. It's a lot. You can hear them a lot more clearly. That's number 1. Number 2. When Anthony Joshua fights at Wembley Stadium or the O2 Arena, there's only one type of fan in the building. There's just British boxing fans. And I'm not knocking that. I love the British fans. I love what they bring to the sport. I got massive love for the British fans and British boxing. But let's just live in reality here for a second. You're only dealing with the one fan, the British boxing fans, and they're singing and everything's jolly and it's great and they're singing, "Oh, Anthony Joshua," the whole fight. And that's good for a fighter spirit. That lifts him up. But when, let's say if Anthony Joshua fights in a place like the MGM Grand, or when he fought, even at Madison Square Garden, the fans are a lot more on top of him. And while there's 8,000 Brits at the Garden, I'm sure there was a couple of people there that were calling Anthony Joshua a puto as he walked to the ring, and they're cursing at him and they're saying, "Yo, that motherfucker can't fight." And I'm sure you heard that. And this actually, it weighs on a fighter. And AJ himself said that fighting in Madison Square Garden in that environment, it did weigh on him. He said that in an interview. I'm not making this up. He said that himself. So, I have serious questions as to if Anthony Joshua can get it done with big time boxing here in America. So you have the fact that the seats are more on top of you. You have the fact that there's different types of fans in America. We don't just have one type of fan that's just singing and drinking beer and having a good old time. We have those fans, but we have your Mexican fans that are very rowdy, and they get behind their fighters, so they'll be quick to call you a puto. You got the black American fans that are gonna say, yo, that motherfucker can't fight, and then you just got your regular boxing fans that are just chilling, just enjoying the fights. There's different types of boxing fans in the crowds at big time American boxing events, and I don't think this is getting taken into account when these Brits want to start flapping their gums and popping junk about American boxing and big time American boxing. So they'll say things like, well, Anthony Joshua doesn't need American boxing, which I highly disagree with. I've always said, and you can go back and check the videos before he even signed to fight in America, I always said if Anthony Joshua wants to be a big star, he's gonna have to make his name in America, because whether the Brits like it or not, America is the entertainment capital of the world. I had one guy, I think my man Christopher. He was telling me, oh, well, one thing Americans don't understand is that there's a whole world outside of there besides America, and that is the case for many Americans, but I'm not one of them. I've been outside of America before. I went to the UK just this past December. Shout out to the UK. And you know what? Even if that is the case, okay, what I would counter and I would say to the Brits that say things like that say, oh, well, the Americans got to realize that there's a bigger world besides America. Well, the Brits got to realize, especially the ones that have never been to America, the Brits got to realize that America is the entertainment capital of the world, okay? And the Brits got to realize that they're like the size of a breadcrumb compared to America in terms of size and landmass. So, there's a lot more to conquer here in America. Why do you think Eddie Hearn had to start Matchroom Boxing USA? Because it was too easy to take over British boxing in the UK. He only had to compete with Frank Warren and Mick Hennessy. When he comes to America, he's got to deal with Bob Arum, he's got to deal with Al Heyman, he's got to deal with all these big time power brokers in boxing. So you're gonna sit here and you're gonna tell me that and try to discredit the prestige of American boxing? I mean, it's ridiculous. And the funny thing is, I've seldomly ever said anything negative about AJ here over the years, and I wouldn't even consider this a negative. I wouldn't even consider this a negative. Shout out to Pops in the background. I wouldn't even consider this a negative. That I'm saying. I think this is a valid question, and if anybody's truly an AJ fan, if you're truly an AJ fan, you would listen to what I'm saying. You don't gotta agree with me, but you would listen to what I'm saying and really think about it for yourself. Okay. The biggest boxing matches of the last 20 to 25 years have been in the MGM Grand. And every time I come out here and I even say anything remotely critical of Anthony Joshua, his fans start saying, oh, well, stupid Americans, you typical Americans, you're arrogant, you're this, you're that, and all these negative things they want to put in my comments. But it's like, y'all are quick to say that we're arrogant. Y'all are quick to say that we hate on somebody, but then when I make videos and I shit all over Deontay Wilder, and if I shit on any American fighters, you guys say, oh, well, this is a Yank that knows about boxing. So I'm noticing, and I'm just throwing this out there. This is not a video to hate the Brits, because I don't hate the Brits. I love the Brits. I have many friends who are Brits. But I've noticed on YouTube and on Facebook and anywhere where I talk boxing, whenever I criticize Anthony Joshua in any way, shape, or form, it could be a big criticism or a small criticism. Whenever I criticize Anthony Joshua, or whenever I start talking highly of America, like so if I talk highly of America or about American boxing and big time American boxing, I just noticed that the Brits had this hostility towards American boxing. And I'm making this video to pose the question, why the hell do so many of the British boxing fans have such a intense hostility towards American boxing? I mean, I don't hate British boxing. I don't go around saying, oh, well, fuck the O2 Arena and fuck Wembley Stadium. I love watching fights that take place at those venues. Those are great venues for boxing, and as the years are going on, those places are cementing themselves as some of the premier boxing venues in the world. So it's nothing but love for British boxing. But for any boxing fan, I don't care if you're British, American, I don't care if you're from Bangladesh, Japan, Mexico, for any boxing fan to question the validity and the prestige of what it means to headline a big time boxing match, especially big time heavyweight boxing match at the MGM Grand. If you question that and you can't recognize the prestige that comes with that, then I have to seriously question, what the fuck do you know about boxing? What do you know about boxing? Like straight up, what do you know about boxing? Because I mean, we're talking. Let's just go through it. I'm gonna do another video about this later on to further establish this point. But no, while we're giving it to you, we're getting raw. Let's just go through it. Notable fights at the MGM Grand over the last 20 to 25 years: Mayweather Pacquiao, Pacquiao Thurman, Wilder Fury 2, Pacquiao Marquez 1, 3, and 4, Pacquiao Morales 1, Pacquiao De La Hoya, Mayweather De La Hoya Gotti, Mayweather McGregor, Canelo Mayweather, Morales Barrera 2 and 3, Tyson and Holyfield 1 and 2. Riddick Bowe, Herbie Hyatt, Riddick Bowe, Jorge Luis Gonzalez, George Foreman, Michael Moore, Manny Pacquiao, Ricky Hatton, James Toney, Roy Jones Jr., Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz 2. That was 2019 Raw Knockout of the Year. I mean, come on, man. We're talking 7 of the 10 highest grossing pay-per-views of all time, and you're gonna sit here and tell me that the MGM, you're gonna sit here and question the prestige of what it means to headline a big-time fight at the MGM Grand. Then you're gonna say, oh, well, I had one guy said, I think it was Christopher as well. Well, AJ couldn't get up for the Madison Square Garden because the venues aren't big enough, like it is in the UK. Fuck out of here, dude. Fuck out of here. You out of your damn mind. You are out of your damn mind. I don't care if there's 600,000 drunk Brits in the stand. It's not the same as fighting in America because, like I told you, especially like at a place like Madison Square Garden. I know this video is more about the MGM Grand, but especially when we talk about a place like Madison Square Garden, because guess what? All the points that I made earlier for why it's different fighting at the MGM Grand, those points apply to the Madison Square Garden. And on top of that, Madison Square Garden has been around longer than MGM Grand. So you got guys like Muhammad Ali and Floyd Patterson and Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield and just any of the great heavyweight fighters that ever lived. Any of the great heavyweight fighters that ever lived. They fought in Madison Square Garden. So when Anthony Joshua is walking down the tunnel, he's walking down the same tunnel them motherfuckers walk down. And guess what? When he gets to the ring, he has to live up to the legacy and the standard that those guys that I just named, along with the likes of Riddick Bowe and Joe Louis and any great fighter that's fought, he has to live up to the same standard and carry the same legacy and bear the same burdens that those guys had to walking to the ring at Madison Square Garden. All right, so please answer me this question. And just so you know, like, he has to carry those burdens and he has to live up to them. And not every fighter can live up to the pressures of fighting at a place like Madison Square Garden or the MGM Grand. So I'm gonna put it like this to the British boxing fans out there. You guys say, well, such and such boxing in America. And that might be true, but to be honest with you, when it comes to big time boxing in America, unless you boxed at Madison Square Garden or the MGM Grand, you haven't really done shit. To be honest with you, unless you boxed at Madison Square Garden or the MGM Grand, you haven't really experienced what big time boxing is like in America. So I just want to pose a question to my fellow Brits that I have lots of love for. Why is it that whenever anybody, not just me, I've seen it on YouTube with other channels, why is it when anybody criticizes Anthony Joshua in any way, shape, or form, you want to criticize them and demean them? And then why is it that when an American wants to talk positively about some of the great American boxing venues, like, I don't know, the MGM Grand, that has 7 of the 10 highest grossing pay-per-views of all time, why is it that the Brits get all hostile? Like, do you guys really have that much chip on your shoulder that you guys gotta always disrespect and always throw salt on American boxing? Okay, I get it. American boxing ain't quite what it was in the 90s, especially at heavyweight. You guys are running things right now. All we can do, I mean, at least me, all I can do is tip my cap to you guys and say congratulations. But to sit here and act like America still doesn't produce great fighters, I mean, come on. Let's have it right. Besides Tyson Fury, excluding Tyson Fury, all right? And I'm not even sure we can count Tyson Fury because he's a gypsy, but we'll give you Tyson Fury. Excluding Tyson Fury, name me one British fighter right now in boxing that's as good as Terence Crawford. Name me one. Name me one British fighter as good as Terence Crawford. That's one undisputed. Name me one. You can't. You can't. That you can't. So if you're over here flapping your gums talking about American boxing ain't shit, American boxing is this, okay, if you want to compare it to the 90s or the 80s or the 70s or the 60s, you're actually right. But in comparison to the rest of the world, still, America's still out here putting some of the best fighters in the world. And listen, great fighters come from everywhere. I'm not saying this to say that America is better than everybody. You know, even though I could say that and be biased, and I'm gonna be biased because I'm an American, and you would expect that. But I appreciate fighters from everywhere. I mean, for Christ's sakes, my favorite fighter of all time isn't even American. My favorite fighter is from a country that I have no attachment to, Nicaragua, and that's Romo Gonzalez. I mean, I'm not Nicaraguan. I've never been to Nicaragua. I never dated no Nicaraguan woman. There's no reason for me to love Romo Gonzalez as much as I do, other than the fact that he's a great fighter. So this is not. You're not talking to somebody who is just being patriotic. You're not talking to somebody who hates British boxing. You're not talking to somebody who, hates Anthony Joshua. Okay, you're talking to somebody who really loves boxing, and you're talking to somebody who's very passionate about boxing, and you're talking to somebody who knows what he's talking about when it comes to this boxing thing. So, just drop your comments down below. I'm interested to hear this because the British boxing fans. I think you guys are. I think you guys are setting Anthony Joshua to get his ass whooped really horribly. Like, every time he gets criticized, you guys wanna throw salt on whoever criticizes him.
Sometimes you can. It's called
constructive criticism.
It's criticism that basically some guys. It's basically criticism to make somebody better and make whatever nation follows that boxer, that fighter, that music singer, whatever it is, make him a better person than what he is. So when BT's talking to you, he's giving you a lot of constructive criticism.
I'm not hating the guy.
Yeah, so and we follow, we love Josh, we love everything, but don't sit there and put a diaper and put a pacifier on Anthony Joshua because somebody says something you guys don't dislike. That's just talking real. It's just his opinion that you got yours. So I'm gonna leave it like that. Just understand that don't always put a blanket, a diaper, or a pacifier on Joshua and see the reality of it. And just like in any athletes, you have pressure, whether it's in boxing, whether it's race, whether it's car racing, whether it's soccer. When you gotta fill some big shoes. Let's say, for example, Messi. What's that?
Ronaldo.
What's a great British fighter?
Lennox Lewis.
Lennox Lewis, great soccer player. Great. Maybe a great soccer player that
David Beckham.
Beckham. When players put those jerseys on, who's the team they play for, and they get on that soccer field, they gotta have.
It's like if you play for Manchester United or Everton
right. So you're gonna have pressure wearing that,
Real Madrid,
following the footsteps of the greats of all the greats. So that's what this our video is all about. The pressure, the way that Joshua took the walk in. He's walking into a lot of heavyweight greats. And
a lot of history at MSG.
Right, and that's not taken away from another British heavyweight greats that fought back in the time either. We give respect to them too. We're just bringing up where we see it, and you guys have to understand that.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think so British boxing's been on the rise recently, and the Brits have earned their credit. They're doing a lot of great things right now in boxing.
Yeah.
You can't take that from them. But do you think because British boxing has arisen that maybe across the boxing community, maybe the prestige and the value of big time boxing in America is being discredited?
I mean, at this point in time, we got to give credit to the British for having they got the edge. But I'm going to put it this way: how many heavyweights or how many heavyweight greats has the British produced compared to United States American boxing?
Even if you want to just go by the last 30 years.
Right, last 30 years, or how many champions from the U.S. How many?
They're gonna say. They're gonna say.
So you gotta look at all the facts.
They're gonna say. They're gonna say, oh well, your country's a lot bigger, so.
It has nothing to do with that. We come from a small country, a small spot where Manny Pacquiao came from.
Yeah, but they're gonna say that the country's small. That's why.
Yeah. So my point to you is this: that's what it comes down to. Everything's in your resume. How many great fighters has Britain made? How many great fighters has the U.S. made? And you can compare who the best is. But this discussion, we're talking about Anthony Joshua.
Well, I'm talking about mainly him being able to cope with fighting, big time boxing in America.
I think first of all,
because look, Tyson Fury, right?
Yeah.
If you go back to the hold on, my camera's in the. What I was saying was that's why Tyson Fury's win against Wilder in the rematch is so significant, because if you look at just the last couple of years, if you look at some of the biggest stars in British boxing over the last 30 years, we talk about Prince Nassim Ahmed, we'll talk about Ricky Hatton, okay? Both those dudes, guess what venue they both took their first loss and got their ass whooped in?
Well,
the MGM Grand.
Wow.
Okay? Prince Nassim, when he was in the UK and Sheffield, he used to go to the ring on carpets, he'd go to the ring, he would flip over the top rope, but guess what, when he fought in the MGM Grand, he didn't do a flip over the top rope, he walked right in the ring like a normal human being. Okay, because guess what? The stage was too big for him. Ricky Hatton. Okay, he had freaking half the country in the damn in the stands. But guess what? It didn't matter how much they were singing. The stage of fighting in the MGM Grand. It was just too big for, and he fought Floyd Mayweather.
And to be fair,
Herbie Hyde, another one.
Yeah.
Another one. He fought Riddick Bowe. Herbie Hyde fought Riddick Bowe, who was going up and down the weight, eating cheeseburgers, and Riddick Bowe dropped his ass like 4 or 5 times.
And to be fair, I mean, this is why I respect any heavyweight, any champion that goes anywhere without question and just go ahead and does it. They had to really pull Joshua teeth and nails just to bring him here
To America.
I mean, literally, they
You hater. You can't be saying that. You're a hater.
So that's the reality of it. A true champion goes anywhere and establishes himself.
Can I ask you a question?
You can't always be in the comfort zone of your house, or the comfort zone of your living room, or the comfort zone of your stadium, where you feel like family. You can walk in and everything's there.
That's like me,
That's
right?
what makes a true champion.
That's like me, right? With the whole boxing like reporting thing, right?
Right.
Okay. December, right? December, I went to the UK. I didn't have a lot of money in my name, but I went to the UK.
Yeah.
I'd never been to the UK. I knew maybe like 2 people there.
You know nothing about
It was cold. I'm from Miami. I'm from the warmest place in America, one of the warmest places in the world, and I went to one of the most coldest and dreary places on earth just to go to some boxing gyms. Okay, I went outside my comfort zone.
And you can't say that. That's why Tyson Fury, people love him here, because he came here, he took his chance on everything, just went and did it, didn't give a care if it was a loss, a win, whatever the case, how people gonna look at him. He just went and did it. There was no politics. There was no pull toe. He just went and did it.
Yeah.
A champion does that. Joshua, you guys need to see the reality of it. For him to come here, if you have some type of equipment you want to sell to America, you're not just gonna go to one outing or what's it called, salesman, and make it legit. You got to go to different events for people have to let that name be known to get used to that brand. You need to sell your brand.
Yeah.
And that's what.
I was gonna ask what go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
And that's why Josh was not a big name in America. Not because
Not yet.
not yet. Not because people don't know, they don't know much about him or whatever, but this brand has not been sold enough here in America. People just say, okay, you know what, it's the best. He's the best in the world.
Yeah.
Based on just what the British are saying, based on what they see in Britain. He's got to come here and do what Fury does. If you go on the streets down after here in America, who Fury and even heavyweight Deontay Wilder, respects to him too, even though he lost, I guarantee you A, B, or C, you know who they're going to say?
Fury.
Fury. You know why? Because Fury puts himself out there. Fury talks out there. Fury does everything. Fury doesn't worry about the politics. Don't worry about being politically correct. He is who he is. And that's the difference between him and Joshua. But don't hate what we're saying about. We love Joshua. We love anything about.
What do you think about? Okay, so one thing I hear from the British fans, they keep saying this. They say, well, Anthony Joshua's made X amount of dollars not fighting in America. He doesn't really need America to be a big star. But my argument isn't that he'd be a big star. For him to be the biggest star in boxing, he can't do that until he actually establishes his name in America.
For anybody to be a household name, I don't care if it's politics, if it's about sports, about whatever it may be. If you don't come to the great USA,
Stars and Stripes, baby.
Stars and Stripes, making America great.
Uh-oh.
The red, white, and blue. I don't care what you tell me about Joshua, because America, if you go to anything you talk about, that's the first people want to come to is to America.
Yeah.
They say they don't want, not to disrespect Britain, because I'm not disrespecting. They want to live the American dream. That's what it's called, the American dream. They come to America. Joshua wants to leave the American dream and be known as one of the household names. He needs to come more often to America. That's just the bottom line. We're not discrediting what he's done in British boxing. We're not discrediting how you guys love him.
I love what he's doing in British boxing.
So we're not saying that. What we're saying is for him to be a household name, he's got to come here more than once, and he's got to want to do it, and he has not done that. I mean, I was happy when he said in New York and I was telling my son about that when he lost to Ruiz. Not that he lost to Ruiz, because I really wanted Joshua to win. That when after the fight he said, I want to come back, bring it back to New York, and reclaim my championship in New York.
But he said that, but that hasn't happened. They went to Saudi, and then now his next fight's supposed to be in London. So then you got to ask the question, like, when is he gonna come back to America?
Yeah.
When is he gonna exercise those demons? Because people can say, oh well, it doesn't matter where he fights. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah,
I mean, and the thing is too, this isn't only exclusive to British fighters. I mean, I know Prince Nassim and Herbie Hyde and Joshua, these guys came to America and in their first loss got obliterated in the MGM Grand. But I mean, even a guy like Wilder, even a guy like Thurman, even the great Michael Moore, okay, even some good American fighters, they can fight in America in a country that they're from themselves, and still the stage could be too big for them.
Yeah, you have to understand that if he wants to be a big name, he's got to come to the great USA. Bottom line, no matter how you look at it.
I mean,
and that's just, and don't get me wrong. Same for other fighters here that want to get known in your country. They're gonna have to go take their asses across the pond.
I don't know about that one.
And I mean, I'm sorry, as far as going into travel and people get more aware of them. But come to America. Joshua needs to come to America more than just once, and then toot his horn and say that people are disrespecting him because he's not being held up to the other. No, you haven't come along.
What do you say to like the British fans that might be watching this that say things like, well, Americans don't understand that there's a whole other world out there besides America. What do you think about that? What's your take on that?
Well, I'm gonna say it like this: don't matter what other this whole world besides America. If you don't come here, where everything is at, the capital, the New York or wherever, the big thing, get your name out here known, because everything comes, whether you want to see it or not, whether no matter how about economy or whatever it is, everything comes to the great USA. Everything comes through by the USA. That's just the bottom line. You just will a household name here no matter.
Do you think
what.
that's why like I noticed this, and I'm not trying to make this about politics, but like I've noticed like when I talk to people from other countries, like let's say like they'll always know about American politics, right?
Yep.
Like they'll know everybody in the world. Like think about it, right? Everybody in the world has an opinion on American politics. Everyone.
Right.
It don't even matter if they've been to the country. Like I went to the UK and I met so many Brits that had never been to America, but they all got an opinion on American politics. But then like Americans, like we don't really like. This gonna sound ignorant, but like we're not really concerned with what goes on outside the country.
We're not worried about our own thing, just like they should be worried about their own thing. But
I'm saying like I noticed that in other countries that's not the case. They have everybody, no matter where you go in the world, has an opinion on American politics.
Yeah.
But Americans, like, I mean, those of us who are more well read up on world politics, like for me, I follow it casually, so I know a little bit. But
I just look at it this way: if you're gonna talk about anything, you have to first experience it first on your own. But I mean by that, see how the country really is. See what
man, cooking eggs? You cooking eggs?
Cut that for you. Making America experience it before you just talk about it. Because you can hear anything on TV until you actually really go by there and see. Like for example, Brendan heard a lot of things about your country, a lot of shit about your country, good or bad. But he didn't just take it in.
I went.
He went out of fear. He had nothing. He didn't care. He had everything.
Tell him how broke I was. Tell him how broke I was.
I'm telling you, that motherfucker was broken to this fucking day. We couldn't even buy it. I'm dead serious when I say that. My son, he has a strong faith and he's always believed in God, and that's why he gets through with everything. And let me tell you something. I was begging him not to go, but guess what?
He did.
He said,
you guys, these are the things I don't tell you guys. But when I went to the UK, my dad, a lot of people, my family, friends, they knew I was broke, and I still went. I still went. Why? Because I went outside of my comfort zone and I wanted to see what the UK was all about.
Yeah.
Now, did I get to see as much of the UK as I hoped for? Absolutely not. I went to Birmingham, and I was staying in West Brom with my boy Jasper, and I only got to go to a handful of boxing gyms. But you know what? I went there. I got the experience.
Yeah.
I can say I've been to the UK. I can say I've experienced, small fragments of British boxing.
What I'm saying, a lot of the what I've experienced with my son, and I also served with a lot of British when I was in the Gulf War, and there's a storm they're very open. But if you're very like close and sheltered, you really don't know or haven't come to the U.S. and experienced it. I'll say it again, you have no room to talk because you've never been over here to experience how everybody really is. You can have your opinion based on what you see on TV and based on what you hear in the news, but it's not the same thing as.
But then how much should we really trust the mainstream news these days, right?
Exactly.
We should be trusting the mainstream news.
So I'm saying the same thing about with back to boxing. Joshua's got to put on his shoes, put on his skirt, stop crying because somebody criticized him, and come out here and make his name legit. He has everything in the world. He has nothing to lose. He's got the zone over here.
He's got all the marketability.
Eddie Hearn's
He's got all the marketability, all the talent.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. That'd be great for him to come here. I would love him to come here more often. I would come and see Joshua. I love Joshua, but I was
telling Eddie Hearn needed to bring him to Miami.
Yeah.
They need to find the Marlins Park.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that get really upset because somebody made a comment about me when you only wore one shoe over here, left the other shoe back in Britain. Put both shoes on, walk in the U.S., do what you're supposed to do, come here, get your name legit, and you'll be surprised how that will play a big part.
Absolutely.
In Anthony Joshua.
That's why, like, I think the Tyson Fury win is special because, like I told you, the MGM Grand is the pinnacle of boxing, not just in America, but I think in the world. When you're heavyweight and you're headlining a big time fight in the MGM Grand, you've made it. You've done something proper. And when you can perform under those kind of circumstances and pressure, then you're big time. And that's why Tyson Fury is big time. And if you look at British fighters who have fought in the MGM Grand in big fights. I mean, in fact, I want all the British people watching this video right now.
And I'm willing to say again, when I go see my family and I go to their house and we have a party, we're having fun and everything, I'm happy because you know what? I know everybody. I'm an accomplice. I could be a clown. I could be whatever I want. The same thing with Joshua when he goes into the stadiums in Britain. That's his comfort zone. That's his comfort zone. He knows all he's going to have there. The majority of them is going to be 99.9% all British fans. He's in his comfort zone. He's got to get out of that. And you'll see the difference. That's what makes a champion when they go from one place to another.
What about people who say like, okay, well, if that's the case for Joshua, how come the Americans don't fight outside of America? What would you say to that?
Okay, put the money right and put the right fights on, and they'll come there. They'll come there. But just like we were just talking about the British fight, they got the upper hand and everything. I mean, you put the money right, they'll be there. But we're not talking about just any Ricky-Dick American fighter or any Ricky-Dick British fighter. We're talking about Anthony Joshua, what he's accomplishing the British, and how big it would be in his legacy if he would come to America and make a better name.
Listen, Anthony Joshua, I'll put it together like this. Anthony Joshua came here and built his profile up. I'm talking 2 or 3 fights. You come here in America, 2 or 3 fights, you get some knockouts on your resume. You like perform really well. Yeah. I think Anthony Joshua is big enough as a fighter to fight at Yankee Stadium. I actually think there hasn't been a big time heavyweight fight at Yankee Stadium. I don't know how many years.
And listen, but
I guarantee you, Anthony Joshua, if he had 2 or 3 fights in America, he's big enough to fight at the Yankee Stadium and sell it out.
And I love Anthony Joshua's attitude, personality. I really do. I like him the way he speaks. I like him the way he does. I just think that for him to
how he handled the loss to Ruiz as well.
Right, and the way he would just come here and literally like come here and open up his name just like Fury has. The American people will accept him more. But you guys can't sit here and put a shield on Joshua when he hasn't even proven himself enough to come here. I'm talking about the real heavyweights, the real true champions in any division that's willing to step and go forward and go anywhere else. You guys, honestly, Brent fans, you gotta give the edge right now to Fury. Fury came here, signed up with another promoter. He was smart enough to do what he's doing. Got into wrestling. He didn't care if he had to go wipe asses from a cow from America or wipe asses from a horse in America. He just came in and took a chance. Josh got to do the same. And you will see how his name will become more marketable here in America. And you will see how that will really play a big part in his resume and his legacy as a British boxer coming to America and fighting the real heavyweights away from his comfort zone.
There you go. That's Pops. Pops letting y'all know.
So, how many you want?
I'll have 3. But listen, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up on this. All I'm saying is this: I'm not here to throw shade on British boxing. I love British boxing probably more than any American channel on YouTube, with the exception of maybe T Street Controversy. I go live for. I mean, how many American YouTube channels do you guys see that consistently go live for? Not just the big British boxing cards, but the small British boxing cards. Because I've been live for some pretty small British boxing cards. Yeah. So there's definitely no hate on British boxing. It's just posing the question. It's just asking these questions. It's having good boxing talk. And I'm a bit frustrated with my fellow Brits always wanting to throw salt on American boxing when, in all honesty, I think American boxing should be really highly appreciated for all the great fighters we've given the world. To be honest with you, we really should. Anyway, Anthony Joshua fans, stop like pacifying the guy, because the fact of the matter is, with Anthony Joshua, the more you guys do that, the more you guys are creating a scenario for him to get his ass whooped. And if he ever does fight someone like the MGM Grand, I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a lot different. I don't care if you put 4 million Brits at Wembley Stadium. It's just a different type of pressure. It's a different type of atmosphere. And we saw how he handled MSG. So until he exercises those demons, I'm going to ask these questions. But we talked enough. You guys talk in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Take the time to subscribe, like I say in every single one of these videos. You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kicking Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.
This is Showtime, Sean Porter. This is Aerosmith Dre. Hey everyone, this is Jesse Vargas. You're watching True School Sports. You're watching True School Sports. All right, and you're watching True School Sports. Stay tuned.